You're sitting in a conference room, surrounded by your coworkers, your heart racing with anxiety. Your boss, the CEO, is sitting at the head of the table, a smirk spreading across his face as he watches you break down in tears. It's a moment you'll never forget, a moment that will change the course of your life forever. I'll never forget the day I broke down in front of my entire team. My boss was sitting at his desk, smirking at me, while I was sobbing uncontrollably. The room fell silent, and all eyes were on me. I felt like I was on display, like I was a specimen under a microscope. The shame and humiliation washed over me like a wave, threatening to drag me under. As I looked around the room, I saw my colleagues trying to stifle their giggles, their faces a mixture of confusion and amusement. I felt like a failure, like I'd let them down. For the first time, I questioned whether I was cut out for this job, whether I was good enough to work with such a talented team. The laughter still echoes in my mind. It's a haunting reminder of that moment, a moment that left me feeling vulnerable and exposed. I wondered if I'd ever be able to show my face in that office again, if I'd ever be able to regain my dignity. But little did I know, that moment would be just the beginning of an incredible journey. A journey that would take me to places I never thought possible, a journey that would challenge me in ways I never thought I could be challenged. The aftermath of that incident was a blur. I remember walking out of the office, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. I stumbled through the rest of the day, trying to put on a brave face, but deep down, I was reeling. I felt like I'd lost my grip on reality, like I was drowning in a sea of shame and self-doubt. For weeks, I struggled to come to terms with what had happened. I felt like I was stuck in a rut, like I was trapped in a never-ending cycle of self-doubt and anxiety. I began to wonder if I was good enough, if I was worthy of working with such a talented team. But as the days turned into weeks, something inside of me started to shift. I began to see that moment, not as a weakness, but as a strength. I realized that I'd been pushed to my limits, that I'd been forced to confront my fears and doubts. And in that moment, I made a decision. I was going to use that experience to fuel my growth, to drive me forward. 6 months later, my boss's company was up for sale, and to my surprise, I was the one tasked with negotiating the deal. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but one thing was for sure. My life was about to change forever. As I sat in the conference room, surrounded by lawyers and financial advisors, I felt a sense of déjà vu. It was the same room where I'd broken down in tears just 6 months earlier. But this time, I was sitting across from my boss, the CEO, and he was smiling at me with a mixture of confidence and expectation. I had no idea what the future held, but I was ready to take on the challenge. I was ready to prove to myself and to everyone else that I was capable of more than I ever thought possible. And as I looked around the room, I knew that I was in for the ride of my life. The sale of the company was a whirlwind experience, a roller coaster of emotions and negotiations. But through it all, I remained focused, determined to see it through to the end. And when the dust finally settled, I was left standing, holding the keys to a brand new chapter in my life. But what if I told you that this incident was just the tip of the iceberg? That there was more to the story, more to my journey than I'd ever let on? Stay tuned, folks, because this is just the beginning of an incredible tale of growth, transformation, and triumph. As I look back on that moment, I realize that it was just the spark that ignited a fire within me. A fire that burned bright and hot, propelling me forward, driving me to achieve greatness. And as I stand here today, I know that I owe it all to that moment, to that feeling of shame and vulnerability. But what if I told you that it gets even better? That the sale of the company was just the beginning, that there were even more twists and turns ahead? Well, buckle up, folks, because we're just getting started. The journey ahead is full of surprises, full of challenges and opportunities. And I'm not just talking about the business side of things. I'm talking about the personal growth, the self-discovery, the transformation that's been unfolding inside of me. As I navigate this new landscape, I'm reminded of the words of a great philosopher. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. I've fallen, I've stumbled, but I've always risen. And that's the story I want to share with you. The story of how I rose from the ashes, how I transformed my life, and how I became the person I am today. But before we go any further, let's take a step back and reflect on what's happened so far. We've seen the moment that changed everything, the moment that pushed me to my limits. We've seen the aftermath, the struggles, the doubts. And we've seen the beginning of the transformation, the spark that ignited a fire within me. But there's more to the story, more to the journey. And that's what we're going to explore in the next section. So stay tuned, folks, and let's get ready to dive into the next chapter of this incredible tale. You're now standing face to face with the biggest challenge of your career, a challenge that will test your negotiation skills, your emotional intelligence, and your ability to navigate the complex web of relationships within the corporate world. As the CEO's company goes up for sale, you're thrust into the role of the lead negotiator with no prior experience in negotiations. It's like being thrown into the deep end with no lifeline, and you're struggling to stay afloat. The weight of responsibility is crushing, but you're determined to prove yourself, to show everyone that you're capable of handling this. The first few days are a blur of meetings, phone calls, and endless emails as you try to get up to speed on the negotiations. You're meeting with potential buyers, sellers, and stakeholders, trying to understand their needs, their concerns, and their motivations. It's a delicate balancing act as you try to navigate the power dynamics at play, ensuring that everyone's interests are represented and protected. As the negotiations progress, you start to realize that it's not just about the numbers. It's about people's lives, livelihoods, and futures. You're not just negotiating a deal. You're negotiating the fate of your colleagues, your friends, and your community. The pressure is immense, and the stakes are higher than you ever imagined. But just when you think you're getting the hang of it, a shocking revelation changes everything. It turns out that your boss's company is being sold to a rival firm, and you're the key to securing the deal. The news hits you like a ton of bricks, leaving you speechless and wondering what this means for you and your future. As the reality sets in, you start to realize that this is not just a business deal. It's a game of corporate chess, where the players are willing to do whatever it takes to win. You're caught in the middle, struggling to make sense of it all, and wondering what your role will be in this game. The questions swirl in your mind like a tornado, each one more pressing than the last. What does this mean for me? Where does my future lie in this game of corporate chess? Will I be a pawn, a player, or something more? The uncertainty is suffocating, but you know that you have to keep moving forward, to keep pushing through the noise and the chaos. As you stand at the crossroads, you're faced with a choice: to give up, to retreat, or to keep moving forward, to keep pushing through the uncertainty and the fear. The decision is yours and yours alone. But one thing is certain: the journey ahead will be fraught with challenges, with twists and turns that will test your resolve, your courage, and your determination. You're not sure what lies ahead, but you know that you're ready to face it head-on, to take on the biggest challenge of your career, and to emerge victorious. The question is, are you ready to take the leap, to take the risk, and to see where this journey will take you? The clock is ticking, and the stakes are higher than ever before. What will you do next? The uncertainty is palpable, the tension is building, and the stakes are higher than ever before. You're at a crossroads with the choice to make, to take the leap, or to retreat. The decision is yours and yours alone. But one thing is certain: the journey ahead will be a wild ride, full of twists and turns that will test your resolve, your courage, and your determination. You're not sure what lies ahead, but you know that you're ready to face it head-on, to take on the biggest challenge of your career, and to emerge victorious. The question is, are you ready to take the leap, to take the risk, and to see where this journey will take you? The clock is ticking, and the stakes are higher than ever before. What will you do next? You're sitting in the conference room, still trying to process the events that led you here. The CEO's company, the one where you broke down in tears, is now on the market. And to make matters even more surreal, your name is on the shortlist of potential buyers. You can't help but wonder what your boss thought when he laughed at you that day. Did he think it would lead to this? As you prepare for the final showdown, you're faced with a daunting task: negotiating the deal and facing the consequences of your actions. The stakes are high, and the pressure is mounting. You have to decide whether to play it safe or take a risk. The weight of responsibility is crushing, but you know that you can't let fear hold you back. You take a deep breath, gather your thoughts, and walk into the negotiation room. The atmosphere is tense, with representatives from both sides locked in a battle of wills. You engage in a game of cat and mouse, each side trying to outmaneuver the other. The hours tick by, and the tension builds. It's a high-stakes poker game, with the future of the company hanging in the balance. As the negotiation reaches its climax, you feel a sense of calm wash over you. You focus on the bigger picture, visualizing the potential outcomes and weighing the pros and cons. Your mind racing, you make a decision that will change the course of your life forever. In the end, you walk away with a deal that's both exhilarating and terrifying. You've taken a risk and it's paid off. But as you bask in the glory of your success, you can't shake off the feeling that this is just the beginning. The aftermath of the deal is a wild ride, full of twists and turns that will test your resolve and push you to your limits. You find yourself questioning your motivations, wondering if you made the right decision. The experience leaves you with more questions than answers, but one thing is certain: you've grown as a person, and your perspective on life has shifted. You've learned to be brave, to take risks, and to believe in yourself. As you reflect on that moment of vulnerability, you realize that it was the catalyst for this journey. It taught you to be resilient, to adapt, and to thrive in the face of uncertainty. You've discovered a newfound sense of purpose, one that drives you to push beyond your limits and pursue your dreams with unwavering conviction. Looking back, you can see the threads that connect the dots between that moment and this. You've come full circle, emerging stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. You've learned that it's in those moments of weakness that we find the strength to overcome. And as you look to the future, you know that you're ready to face whatever challenges come your way. The experience has taught you that success isn't just about achieving your goals. It's about the journey, the people you meet, and the lessons you learn along the way. You've gained a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. And as you share this story with others, you hope that it will inspire them to find the courage to take risks, to be vulnerable, and to pursue their dreams with passion and purpose. So, the next time you feel like giving up, remember that it's in those moments of weakness that we find the strength to overcome. Share your own story of overcoming adversity, and let's continue the conversation. What's your most memorable moment of resilience? How did you push through the hard times and emerge stronger on the other side?